we had legislative attempts at the national level, pushed by many of us to say, you have to do something about this because Medicaid is funding those places. Well, Medicaid ought to instead fund people living in more typical, normal situations. One of the more notable attempts at that was under Senator Chafee, who thought, that makes so much sense, let's do some legislation on it. And the opposition was strong enough to say, let's get some public hearings on this. So, partly through Colleen, I arrive in Chicago on behalf of our council, and because we had operated an early home to get people out before any lawsuits or anything else, but as a charitable nonprofit organization, we begged, borrowed, and stole what we needed to start a group situation, which I later regretted. But anyway, so we were sort of a provider. So they put me on the provider panel. And either my reputation or somebody had intel. It was pretty clear they knew who they were dealing with when they started to ask me questions. The people from this is outside of the airport, outside of O'Hare in Chicago. And it's clearly that the unions representing workers in those facilities in Illinois knew what they were doing. You could tell, number one, because these buses would arrive with these people with gray and blue hair who were parents who had children in institutions in Illinois who didn't want to see anything happen to those, right? That was all their child could do, and they had already told some stories about how wonderful the facility their child in was, and the union had clearly arranged the buses and everything else for everybody to get there. Well, the union sat behind me when I was trying to talk, and they would mouth what I was trying to say, trying to mouth at the same time, to the point that the senator had to ask them to please be quiet. We're here to hear him, not to have you heckle and do those kinds of things. But you could see that I had upset the parents who so on my way back to my seat, one little old lady stuck her leg out, tried to trip me. And I actually could hear them booing me, even though I had worked to that point and until now, always for parents of people with disabilities as well as people with disabilities on my boards of directors. That's always who employ me. But these people were upset about me. I had at a hearing that was held in Michigan many years later, I had a parent who still wanted our institutions to reopen, stand up and tell the director or the commissioner for developmental disabilities at the federal level that Don Hoyle got our department to drink his Kool-Aid when they closed the institutions and the ICFMRs. So I mean, it carried on. It still carries on. There are people who think that's an evil thing that we don't have institutions anymore in Michigan.